All right, everybody, welcome. It's time to kick off the Fight Club here on X. Looks like we are also broadcasting live on the Let's Truck app. So far, looks like all of the technology is working correctly. We should also be live on all of our live streams. So I will catch everybody up to speed as people are coming into the space here. So I'm hoping that the Fight Club, that's what this is today, doesn't die on the vine. So I've been trying to promote this for the last week. I have offered 2 debates today. One on, the first one can be on any topic anybody wants: business, money, politics, whatever you want. Second one will be a health topic. Unfortunately, okay, everybody was hearing me on the app right there, but I realized nobody was hearing me in the space here because I hadn't unmuted myself yet. So I'll start over. Welcome to the Fight Club. And as I was saying, I hope this idea doesn't die on the vine, because as of right now, we have no challenger. So I've offered 2 debates. One on any topic anybody wants. I'd like to focus on business or money or politics, but anything anybody wants to debate. Second one would be on health, and I have 0 challengers on either topic. So if nobody wants to challenge me on any topic, then I'll open it up to 2 other people on the call debating between themselves without me being involved. So otherwise, I will probably just have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what the topic of my space is going to be. I want to do a space every week, but I don't want it to be the same as my regular daily shows, because what would be the point? So the point on this one was to do something completely different. And so far, I'm not sure if this is going to work. Can't seem to get any challengers. Anybody want to jump in and, for right now, till we get some more people in here, just talk about anything in general? Anybody have? I'll even take questions for a while. Anybody want to jump in with a potential topic, even if they don't want to debate it? If you have a topic, throw it out there. I'm collecting topics. So, John, are you my co-host today? Should I make you a co-host?
Hey, that's up to you, Kevin. I don't even know why I'm a speaker. This is like the second time I've used X ever.
I'm not sure what happens sometimes either. I know that occasionally I'll jump into a space and I'm automatically listed as a speaker. Usually I think there's a button there.
I just muted my mic just in case there was any background noise or whatever. Hey, but I do have one statement though for you.
Sure.
If you have a minute.
Yeah.
I was not thrilled with your shirt that you had on today.
Were you the one that mentioned that in the chat? I have a hard time keeping track of stuff. Did you mention
it?
Yeah,
it was me.
Okay.
That was me. And that's not why I'm here to criticize you for that. It's just I didn't know if you'd heard about the Liberty Safe ordeal.
I had
about a year ago.
I'm not sure how I missed that.
It was a J6 guy.
Okay.
The ATF raided his house, couldn't get into his safe, so they called Liberty Safe, and Liberty Safe just handed him over the master code with no prove who they were.
That makes Liberty Safe more woke than somebody like Apple. Hell, Apple won't even help the government as woke as they are. They won't.
I know. We're slowly converting over to Apple. It's just I bought a brand new Samsung S23 Ultra, and then my daughter just got the new 15, Apple 15.
Well, this kind of sucks with the safe. You know, if I absolutely had to, I could switch phones. We get new phones all the time, but my God, I figured I'd have that safe for the rest of my life. It's not like you're going to wear it out.
Right.
So the last thing I want to do is have to change safes, but that sucks. I will stop.
Yeah, it was a great big ordeal in the 2A community a year or so ago when it happened.
Yeah,
I think they buckled at the knees pretty hard financially over it. They've went in. I read something online today because I searched it because I wanted to remember exactly what I was if I needed to stand up for it. But
Well,
it was quite the ordeal for a while there.
well,
I seen with that shirt, and I'm like, oh, Kevin, come on, you had to have heard that.
I didn't hear that. Maybe what I'll do on one of my videos sometime soon, maybe I'll just burn the shirt.
Yeah, that's up to you. I'm just criticizing you on and giving you a hard time. I mean, it's your choice. I was really surprised to see it.
Yeah, that kind of stuff bothers me.
Yeah. That's why I'm interested in going to all Apple products. I got the daughter a new MacBook Pro. It cost me quite a bit for school.
Yeah, it
And
does.
it's just because I've been buying used refurbished laptops off of a friend of mine, and they only last about a year. And I know with Apple products, as long as you pretty much, they always update themselves, and they're never really obsolete until they just can't support whatever programming they need to support, like app wise.
We end up with we end up as a company, we end up with piles of Apple devices because they never quit. Yeah, and we just don't take the time to sell them. But we have some stuff that's been cranking along for years and still works great.
Yeah, my best friend's on his second Apple phone in like 20 years. Yeah. He's like, there's no point of updating them.
I know.
So that's what, and the proprietary software and their security that they will not let anybody into their software. Yeah. Because if they do it for one, they have to do it for all. And I highly respect that for anybody.
Yeah. That, I don't think any of those are debatable topics. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it wasn't. I wasn't trying to start a debate. I just was like, well,
I'm just looking for topics that somebody will actually debate me on, because so far I haven't been able to get anybody today. I'll take any topic, and it might be a topic I know absolutely nothing about, and I would still say, okay, let's just do it.
Okay, I'll debate you on something if you don't. Something that kind of irks me.
Well, here's the thing. This fight club isn't about the topics. That's why I said I'll even take a topic I don't know anything about. I'll probably lose, but that's okay, because the point isn't the topics. So if we do it, I'll talk about it.
It's just to start friendly debate and to have discussions instead of arguments.
Yeah, and that's why.
But I got one about you though.
Okay, what is it?
The difference between an A and an O.
The difference between an A and an O.
Yeah, you call it OMOD. It's OMAD. I've never heard an A sound like an O. For one meal a day.
I hardly ever say the word. Do I say it OMOD? When have I ever said that?
Yeah,
I hardly ever use the word.
Every time I've heard you say it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's all great and powerful, Kevin Rutherford. Hallowed be thy name. No, I'm kidding.
All right,
I don't know who that is, but I'm cool with it.
That one will be an easy one to fix because I don't say it very often, and I'll remember it next time.
Right.
The one that I bet I got 30 emails on this one over the years, and I finally think I corrected myself. And I'm glad people correct me because I'm big on words. I tell people all the time words are important.
And that's the only reason I said it. And I'm on this, and I didn't even want to be here.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to keep conversation going.
The one that I used to get messages about constantly, I would always say it Groundhog's Day. And it's not. It's Groundhog Day. And that made some people crazy. And it only comes around once a year. And I would forget. And then finally, I think it sunk in. I think I got it this year. So I don't mind being corrected at all, especially when it comes to words. That's not even something
I could argue about. I
never thought about it.
That's one of those holidays that I think is absolutely stupid and has no point in life.
It really is. And I never realized that people were picky about how you said the word. But once they corrected me and I kind of checked and I said, no, they're right. That is the correct way to say it. And I'll fix that then. Now, here's one. Since we're talking about this. So when we first started talking about the medical condition of SIBO is the acronym. And the acronym stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And everybody in the functional medicine world was arguing about whether it was SIBO or SIBO. How should you pronounce the SIBO, SIBO or SIBO? And everybody would argue about it. And I looked at it and said, wait a minute, where did you come up with either one of those? The words are small intestinal. It should be SIBO, not SIBO or SIBO. The sound of the word should determine, and it's intestinal. So I've been saying SIBO forever, and I think it's catching on because it's the correct way.
I got nothing. That's how I've always said it was SIBO or SIBO.
Yeah,
or SIBO.
In the beginning, it was SIBO or SIBO, and everybody argued about which one it was. And I said, it's neither. It's SIBO. It's common sense.
SIBO. Yeah. I agree with that.
I still don't have any challengers, and I don't have any really interesting.
I didn't hear what either one of your topics were. I don't remember from the show this morning.
Yeah,
I can't do anything on the business side. I'm a company driver. I have no interest in being a business owner, trucking, or running my a little bit of eBay store. I'm down to like nothing left on it. So I want to be done with it if I can get these last few items sold.
I did throw out a topic kind of at the last minute, and I was doing 10 other things. And then I didn't even realize this, but that's the topic I debated last time, 3 weeks ago. So I want to do that one again. It was about the lease. Should owner operators, be allowed to lease to a carrier?
And I think they should. You're an owner operator of a truck. You should be able to do basically whatever you want with that truck. If you fail, that's your fault, not anybody else's, not the government's, not, just like, I'm just reiterating what you say. Right. I agree with you. Right.
Yeah.
So I can't, I'm not arguing with it.
We weren't y'all arguing more about like
the Motor Carrier Act of 1980, actually.
Yeah, the Motor Carrier Act. Right. Y'all arguing more about that.
Yeah. So I still think that because there are still a lot of people in our industry that are pushing for the idea that you should not be allowed to lease to a carrier. That if you're going to own a truck, you have to go get your own authority and become a carrier. I'm completely against that. We've had.
Do you not have your own authority when you lease onto a company, or can you have your own authority? See, I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm just trying to keep conversation going.
No, that's fine. Technically,
110.
If you have your own authority, you shouldn't be leased to another carrier. You can put your authority aside and do it. But if you have the authority, you are a carrier, and you have the right to go move freight for anybody you want. You can go directly to a shipper and move their freight. You can go to a broker and move freight for them. All the big carriers run brokerages. So even though I have my own authority and I'm not leased to Landstar, I can get freight from Landstar. I can get freight from Schneider. I can get freight from anybody that has a brokerage. If I don't,
so basically, you could play power only almost with them.
Yeah, you could play.
Yeah, that's what guys do here.
You can have trailers. You are a trucking company, and you can do anything any trucking company can do. If I don't have authority, then I am limited to only pulling either exempt commodities, and there aren't that many exempt commodities. Pretty hard to stay full all the time on that. Or I lease my equipment and my services to a carrier that does have authority. We've been doing this forever, for as long as I can remember, and it works just fine. I don't know why I do know why we have groups that try to get rid of it, because our government doesn't like us to be independent. They want us to be employees. I
don't think it's so much the government. It's more along the lines of a lot of these companies are shitty, and the way they run things really fucks over some owner operators.
So what? A lot of
that's
companies,
the owner operator's choice.
What I'm saying is, it has nothing to do with the government.
No, it does.
It has everything to do with the bad actors in our industry.
No, I'll tell you why. Well, then why is the government pushing to change the law? And
because the people that are getting fucked over by these companies. Now, granted, a lot of them have signed their own contracts and they didn't read it. I get that argument. But the companies that are disingenuous, that are stealing and taking from the guys,
sounds like you're perfect to debate me on this one.
Maybe.
Well, let's do it.
I'm also a moron running a trucking company.
See, I disagree.
Well, you remember who I am?
I'm not sure. What do you mean?
We had a conversation. Well, I'm the guy that charges $300 a week to have guys loose onto his authority.
Yeah.
Just to refresh your memory.
So I'm fine with that, and you should be fine for all the dirtbag companies, because that makes your offering
100%.
look better. Why do we want the government to shut down those opportunities? And here's the other thing I will tell you. It is the government. Here's why. The government doesn't like to try to collect taxes from independent contractors. They would much, much rather you be an employee and they get their money every week.
Yeah, I get that argument.
That's the biggest reason the government does this.
Yeah.
And control. And this is always a partisan issue. I have never really seen Republicans en masse push for any of these type of laws. This is a Democratic thing where they pushed AB 5 in California, and it's a Democrat bill in the PRO Act primarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's control and taxes.
I don't know. I think it's a mix of both. I think it's more just guys, not doing their due diligence, working for these shitty companies, and then they're mad they get screwed over. And then to get a recourse or a course of action to get back at them, they want the government to come in and get them. You know what I mean?
Exactly. There's no doubt that there are lousy companies out there there are people that get ripped off. This won't change anything. And that's the way business is. Business is risky. Not everybody should be in business. But I also want it to be as easy to be in business as possible. And the leased model in trucking has worked for decades. Well, why change it now? It gives people an opportunity to be a business owner and take their chance at it. And many will fail. And some will fail because they lease to a lousy company. So what?
I guess.
It's not the government's place to babysit me and try to create my success. In fact, I just want the government to get the hell out of my way. I don't need them to babysit me and tell me what's a good opportunity and what isn't.
I guess. Yeah. I'm more for the side of the bad carriers, which, they help me out from time to time by having drivers come over here. But the problem with that is you have to be able to have the loudest voice.
Well, let's think about something else. Who gets to decide what a bad carrier or a bad lease is? I don't want the government to. I should be able to decide that on my own. I can tell you this. I have had more people that I've worked with as clients, customers, whatever, come to my events, lease to Landstar than any other company. And I have had people who go to Landstar and swear it's the worst contract they've ever seen. They would never, ever do it. They take 38% or whatever the hell the number is that week for that person, because it's not always the same. But they always bitch about that. But I will also tell you this. I have never had a carrier with more successful people leased to it than Landstar. So on one hand, you have people that say it's the worst ever. They'd never do it. On the other hand, I have more people succeed there and stay there for decades than any other carrier. So why do we want the government trying to figure out who we should lease to or that we can't lease to them at all?
And what does the government do that benefits us in any way in life?
That's a blanketed statement.
Not much. They tend to, and here's why. The government screws up most of what it does because of the way the government was designed. The government is designed to be inefficient. You have three separate entities, and none of those three should have ultimate power. That's an inefficient way of doing anything. I tell people all the time, you have to have an absolute leader to run a successful company. You don't run a successful company by committee. You do it with an absolute leader. Our government, we don't have an absolute leader. We have a president, but he can't do much on his own. And that's the way it should be. It should be inefficient like that. I love the way we designed our government. But our government was not designed to run a bunch of extra services. Our government wasn't designed. There should be no national, what do we even call it? Department of Education. Should just be eliminated. Shouldn't even exist. That's a state.
There should be no ATF.
I could go on and on and on and on about
those three things don't even go together.
Exactly.
Well, two of them do.
About
the third one is complete. We have a second amendment that controls it.
I could go on and on about how many of the alphabet agencies just shouldn't exist. And in fact, we've given them so much power now that we have a big lawsuit that was just decided at the Supreme Court about this. And it was a good ruling. I'd be more than happy to debate somebody about that topic if somebody wants to.
Was that the... Oh, I forgot the name of it. You've talked about it a few times.
The Chevron.
The Chevron.
Right.
I wanted to call it the shield because the Chevron looks like a shield.
Yeah. Well, it's the Chevron. It was Chevron Corporation. That's why it's called that. It was a ruling based on.
Okay.
And that was 40 some years ago. And since then, we've given all this power to the alphabet agencies. Now the Chevron case could pull that back. And I'm hoping it does.
Was that because they broke up Chevron because it was
I actually have not had time to go back and research the original law. I know much more about the new ruling than I do about the original, what led to that. It was actually, I think, some fishing family had something to do with this. I've seen some details here and there, but I haven't read through it.
I didn't know if it was something like with the telephone system back in the 80s when there was one company, and the power companies, there was like one company, and they said they know one person can't monopolize it. It has to be multiple.
No, this isn't about monopolies. That was when they broke up the Bell companies. Ma Bell controlled phones all across the country. That was a monopoly case. That's not what this was. This was, I think this may have been some sort of environmental issue, actually. So it's not about monopolies. It's about whether or not alphabet agencies like the EPA, the FDA, do they have the power to write regulations that then we are all subject to? And originally, that power was supposed to be given to the Congress. But the Congress said, and I'm really paraphrasing here based on what I know, this is constitutional law, but the Congress said, look, there's so many things in our world we have to decide on, and we're not the experts. We don't know about trucking. We don't know about the environment. We don't know about global warming. So we need the experts in these agencies to tell us what a good regulation is. And we gave all that power to them, but we don't get to elect them. So that
then why aren't they experts then? Why are they?
Well, they're supposed to be. But even if they are, well, let's think about this. We have seen people come out of the trucking industry and go to work at the FMCSA. Not always, but many times that the FDA, you look at the people at the FDA, most of them came out of big pharma. And then they go to work at that's a mistake. It's a problem. The more of an expert they are, that means the more time they spent in the industry. And what happens is they leave the industry, they go to the government, they write a bunch of rules that benefit the companies they used to work for, and then they go back to work for those companies again.
Or they go to K Street.
Well, exactly. They become lobbyists. So we've totally screwed up our whole system by giving these alphabet agencies that much power. So now it's supposed to go back to Congress and the courts to decide these kind of things. We're again, if I'm understanding this correctly, and I think I am, we're going to take some of that power away from these alphabet agencies with this ruling.
And that would be good, in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
I agree completely. I'm looking for. I hope it works out as well as a lot of people think that it will, because I think it could make things much better in a lot of ways. I really believe that, and I have always said, I was not against pollution controls on trucks. I'm still not against it. I want our vehicles on the road to be as clean as they can possibly be. I remember the 70s when you couldn't walk through a truck stop without your eyes burning and coughing.
But
the diesel fumes were so heavy?
Are they going too I don't know what the word I want to use here is, too strict on the numbers though? Like, does 0.2% of this really matter that much?
Well, that's kind of my point.
Because it's probably, let's say if it's 0.2 now, what was it 10, 20 years ago? Was it 5.0? Well, and we've gotten it down to 0.2?
Well, here's what I would say. We have dramatically improved the air coming out of the exhaust pipe. No doubt in my mind. Like I said, I remember what the 70s were like. And several years back, I went to Costa Rica, and all of our old mechanical trucks are all down there. And you have to follow a couple trucks up a 2-lane mountain road, and you can't breathe behind them. That's how bad it was. And I remember those days here. We don't deal with that anymore. We really did clean up the air, and I'm good with that. It could have been done better. And I believe it would have been done better if we wouldn't have given so much power to the EPA.
And then how does like California able to take the EPA and then magnify it, basically make it even
with the issue with the car there, and this is all wrapped up in this. That, again, my understanding, and I'm not a constitutional attorney, but states are not supposed to be able to write laws that interfere with commerce across state lines. And it seemed to me like many things California has done interferes with commerce. California writes laws that affects me in New England if I own a truck.
Or if you buy a lawnmower or a pack of gum.
Well, no.
Everything says, the California is...
Hold on. I'm not trying to take the lawnmower that's legal in Oregon into California. I don't care what California says about lawnmowers because I don't live there. The states should be allowed to make those kind of state laws. I'm good with states' rights. But California should not be allowed to make a law that affects me when I don't live in their state. So they can write all the rules they want about wood stoves and lawnmowers, and if I don't like it, then I won't live in California. But they should not be allowed
they push it on the manufacturer, though, to make them all California compliant. So the manufacturer doesn't have to specifically build one model or a California only and then a 49 state model.
See, I'll play the devil's advocate here. If a manufacturer chooses to build anything they want, and even if they chose it because of California's law, I don't care. That's their company. We have competition. So if they do something stupid like that, like they're going to only build one lawnmower and they're going to do it to California standards, well, they just lost my business. But there's 37 other lawnmower companies I can go buy a lawnmower from. So I'm fine with that. The reason I don't like government being able to do that, we only have one government. There's no competition. I can't choose anything else.
Understand that.
And that's why I like states' rights. If I don't like the laws in one state, I have, 49 other states I can choose from.
Let me ask you a question. You were going back to, you're saying the old days, your eyes were burning in the truck stops. Who started that up? Was it just natural progression by manufacturers to make better trucks?
No.
Or was it pushed on by,
no, I'd like to say that the OEMs did it on their own, but they didn't. It was regulation that forced them to do that. Starting in about 2003, the EPA stepped in.
So is that not something good with having regulation? Your eyes aren't burning no more at the truck stop.
I am not anti-regulation. And I said, I'm glad we cleaned it up. It could have been done better. That's all I'm saying. It could have been. We went through a decade of horrible maintenance issues because of the way this was handled. And it's handled in a certain way because the EPA says this is how it's going to be done, and this is it. You have to do this. And we gave them too much power. So I like the results. I'm glad our trucks are much, much cleaner burning now. But it could have been handled better if we didn't give so much power to these alphabet agencies. I am fine with Congress writing regulations. What I don't like is they've handed all these decision-making powers over to people that we don't get to elect. I don't get to elect whoever runs the EPA. I do get to elect my congressman. So I want them having more power in the decisions. And they gave up all that power. Now this Chevron doctrine is trying to pull that back. And I think that's a good thing. We need all three branches of government to make these decisions, not some alphabet agency that we didn't get to elect.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like when it comes down to government or local government or even big business, they'll out for themselves anyway. I mean, you got Flint, Michigan water crisis. You've got instances like DuPont poisoning people. You know what I mean? Like it's everybody, branch of government or whatever entity it is, alphabet people. This shit's not going to work. You're always going to have corrupt individuals. You're not going to clean that up.
Right. And I realize that, and there should be penalties and fines and all those things. I'm good with that. I don't want anarchy or chaos, but I also don't want the system we have now where we could sit here for the next 2 hours and try to name all these alphabet agencies and we'll still miss some. And we've just given them too much power. And some of them shouldn't exist at all. And I will say the Department of Education should not exist at the federal level. There's no point in it whatsoever. That should be a state and local thing. All right. Anybody else want to jump in here?
Oh, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Keep talking. But I'm just asking if anybody wants to jump in, just raise your hand or unmute yourself and jump in, because it doesn't look like I'm going to get any challengers on debate here. So I may have to rethink the whole Fight Club idea.
I think it's a good forum to have. I just don't think you have the audience for the argument. You have a lot of followers.
People against you in here. These are all
because they may listen once and then be like, I'm not arguing with them, or I'm not coming back, because they just want to argue right now, today, at that moment, where you may not even know they exist at that moment. You know, there's things that I don't agree with, but I'm not going to argue them because I don't have a lot of leg to stand on.
Yeah, and you are right. And I knew that was going to be my biggest challenge because I had the same problem. So everybody,
because most of your followers are pretty core. You know, I quit. They practice what you preach because you practice what you preach, and they see the results they get. And finding a new person to listen. I mean, that's why I was in 2018. I listened to you and I was like, this guy's a crackpot.
Yeah.
But then I started, and it was all about keto and the health stuff that caught my ear, because I'm an owner. I'm a company driver. I have no interest in the business side of trucking.
Right.
But it's cool to hear about. I love hearing about it, but I don't have any interest in it. But once I started hearing these truck drivers calling in and agreeing, and you don't get truck drivers that agree on much. And they're all saying the same thing. I'm getting results. I'm losing weight. These numbers are going down. These numbers are going up. And I started talking to my wife, and it was like, maybe this stuff is legit. Maybe he's not just peddling some dime store weight loss miracle drug. Yeah, and we tried it, and I lost 150 pounds the first time, and I'm down 90 pounds the second time.
That sounds pretty successful. So I knew this was going to be my biggest challenge, was finding enough people to disagree. That's why I tried to lighten it up. And this isn't about the topic. Let's just learn how to talk to each other and debate better. And I thought it was going to work. But I've tried this before. I don't know how many people remember I started a segment twice called The Pit politics in trucking. And I did it because I like politics and I like to talk about politics, and people would get pissed off when I talk about politics on the show. And I said, okay, I get it. You don't want to hear about politics. It's everywhere. You can't get away from it. So I won't do it on the regular show. I'm only going to do it on this day, this segment. So if you don't want to hear about politics, don't tune into this segment. And I did it. The problem was it was an echo chamber. Everybody that listened and wanted to ask a question or talk about anything just agreed with what I was saying. And that gets really boring. I couldn't get people to disagree with me about politics. So,
and then the ones that do kind of disagree with you won't come to that forum to
correct.
Voice their opinion.
Exactly, right. So that didn't
They want to do it on your talk show every day. There's a couple of them that have called in, and it's not about politics. It'd be sometimes about just trucking in general. It's like, when you're doing these specific forums and then bring these issues up. Quit clogging up the phone lines for sometimes an hour for a phone call.
Well, that's always my challenge.
But you've always enjoyed it. You enjoy it though too.
Correct. And I've always said this is not a democracy or a constitutional republic. My show's a dictatorship.
Yeah, and that's why I don't argue it or complain about it. It's just if others are going to, they should. It's like they have this forum right now, and they got me, a nobody, just blabbering with Kevin about nothing, just to fill up his time.
One of the things
I'll talk to anybody about anything as long as I can.
Give him a headshot and an autograph, Kevin. He'll quit talking.
Well, I did ask.
I can mute myself in a heartbeat.
I did ask for recommendations, and somebody came up with a good one. I'd love to debate somebody on this topic, but nobody probably will. The fair tax. I'm a huge proponent of the fair tax. What's that?
So Sage will debate you.
I don't see him in here.
He's not in there yet.
Yeah.
You just said fair tax, so he's close by.
Yeah. Somebody holler at him and tell him to come in here and debate me on the fair tax if he wants. Him and I actually
do that. I'm bowing out. I've heard it way too many times.
Him and I actually did the first night that I went on a space and announced I was going to do this debate, this fight club, and I wanted feedback. The problem was we didn't debate it using my rules, because it just got thrown out there as a topic. Then we started talking about it. Then we were screaming at each other. And I said, this is exactly my point. We're just screaming at each other. We're just repeating our own talking points over and over and over. So let's do it under the rules. And I don't know why we didn't that night. I've got somebody asking me how they can call in. And they're here on X, so let me see if he's in the space.
Call into the show?
Well, he wants to get in here, I think. No. But I don't see him.
Oh, you don't have any co-hosts.
I don't see him.
Well, no, you only got, I don't know how many speakers you have, so. Let's see.
I guess I could just.
We need to request a mic?
Well, I don't even see him in the room.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking for him in the room and I don't see him. So he's trying to figure out how to get to this space, I guess. Let me, who wants to be my co-host?
I'm about to stop here in a little bit.
Okay, I'm going to make you a co-host.
I'll do it if you need it. I can hang out. I got no problems.
All right, let me figure. Oh, there we go. There's you. We get a couple co-hosts in here. It might help. And then I'm going to go see if I can send him a link. So somebody else talk about something for a minute, because I can't talk and do this at the same time.
Anyway, who wants to lease on to JB Roads for $300 a week?
It's a hell of a deal.
Take this moment to advertise.
It's a hell of a deal. I'll even promote it.
Sign your own Raycons, pick your own freight, go where you want to go, except maybe Oregon. So I don't have a permit up there.
You're not missing much. It's a great place to be, except for trucking. Trucking's not all that great up here.
It's a beautiful drive, but it's just not all that.
Well, actually, I tell people all the time, in Cascade Locks, I live on the beautiful side of the gorge, and it's a really spectacular view from the Washington side. So you don't have to come over to Oregon to enjoy the view. In fact, the view, in my opinion, coming through the gorge is better on the Washington side.
Yeah. I drove up there one time on purpose.
Yeah.
I think, all right, done that. I'm gone. Go back to the other side.
There you go. All right. Anybody else want to jump in here? Anybody got a topic, a question, anything they want to talk about? Because it doesn't look like we're going to have a fight club today.
You ever get through the Peaks and Valleys book there, Kevin?
I didn't because, we could talk about books. I did something on Saturday that I haven't done in a really long time, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. So after my vacation, I was so physically exhausted that I needed a break. Last week, coming back to work for the first week and catching up on everything and trying to get caught up on research and current events and what was going on, I kind of got burnt out mentally. So by this past weekend, I was just kind of exhausted, just all around. Physically, I was tired. Mentally, I was tired. I got up Saturday and Lisa said she wasn't feeling all that great. I think she overworked herself. And I said, you know what? We should just take it easy today. I'm not going outside. I'm just going to chill today and just try to catch up. So I realized I had that new book, that manuscript they found after Michael Crichton died. And then James Patterson took the manuscript and finished it. And for some reason, you can't get it on Kindle. And it doesn't even look like it was ever published by anybody in the United States. I actually bought it out of the country. I got it on Amazon, but it's a physical book. I hardly ever read physical books anymore. But I did something I haven't done in a long time. I read that book in one day. And that is my favorite way of reading a book. When I have enough time that I can just pick up a book, start it, and read it all the way through. I haven't done that in years. I can't remember the last book I read in one shot. But I did read. Now I can't even remember the title of it.
I can't do digital Kindles and stuff like that. I gotta have me a book in my hand.
No, I love my Kindle. I do not like read it. It is so much easier to read on my Kindle than a physical book. But this one, I didn't have any choice.
Really?
Yeah. Well, the one thing I love about a physical book, you can't, or Kindle, I mean, you can't read a physical book with one hand. It takes two hands.
My mom would beg to differ.
Yeah,
stop reading such big ass books.
You're right, but I mean, trying to hold a physical book and turn the pages smoothly with one hand is not easy at all. And the book's heavy. And when you're reading all day, that stuff matters. On my tiny little Kindle, and all I have to do is hold it in one hand and press a button with my thumb to change the page. I love my Kindle. And I can read in the dark with no external light when I read my Kindle. I can't do that with a book.
What? You don't read by candlelight? Come on now.
Well, that's what I mean. You have to have an external light source to read a physical book. I don't need that. I can just grab my Kindle and read anywhere. Yeah. And when I go on a plane, not that it really matters, but when I go on a plane, how many physical books do I want to take with me? My Kindle will hold 100 or more.
Yeah, you just told me to bug you, so I continue to bug you.
I will. You should keep bugging me. I will get to it. I promise. I didn't read any books while I was on vacation. I thought I was going to get a ton of reading done while I was on vacation. I didn't read a single book. All right. I still don't see any takers. Anybody want to jump in here with anything? Health topics? Anybody want to debate me on any kind of health topic?
You know who Caleb Hammer is?
A what?
You know who Caleb Hammer is on YouTube?
No.
You should look him up sometime. He does a financial audit. I know you typically help drivers with like business stuff, and you kind of tout a little Dave Ramsey and things like that. it would be interesting for your show, maybe if you had somebody that would let you dig deep into their financials and you actually like go over their shit on an episode of your show. Since a lot of truck drivers are broke for the most part, and then you could like coach them in the, this is what's wrong, and guests could see it live on air.
I love that kind of
Isn't
stuff.
That kind of what you do on Thursdays?
I was just going to say, I'd love to do that kind of stuff. It never seems to work well on the radio. It's hard to organize. People don't come prepared. They don't have all their numbers. We got to dig in. We got to put it off till next week. And that kind of flow doesn't work very well on the show. That is exactly what I do on my coaching calls. We dig much,
I was going to say, because if they send you all their information?
On the coaching call, they do. Yeah, that's the point.
Okay.
I have a whole team that works with them in the background. And when they bring their question to me, then I can say, okay, in order to really dig deep into that question, I need to know this. I need this form. I need to know what's going on here. And then they get back to them. We get all that information. And sometimes a coaching call, one issue might go on for 4 or 5 different calls. And I like that a lot. That's why I was just saying today, the coaching call has become one of my favorite things because I like that deep dive. I do the same stuff over and over and over on the show. You answer the same questions about fuel mileage, same questions about taxes, same questions, and it's all surface stuff. But on the group coaching, we really get down into some troubleshooting and some strategy, and I really enjoy that.
Hey, Kevin.
Who's this?
That's Thomas.
What's up?
Just here to listen to you. You gonna debate Jason today, or someone gonna fight him?
Nobody wants to debate me on anything today. I think
I want somebody to fight Jason about why you guys should lease on to 300 authority instead of a rapage percentage, but nobody has the balls to step up to him, I guess.
We can't seem to get challengers. I think the whole fight club is going to die before it gets off the ground.
I'd be afraid of Jason too. He's pretty valid on this $300 leasing onto his authority, but
pretty hard to argue with.
It is. Well, yeah, get Mike Boston up here to tell him the difference between the two of them. That's money right there.
Well, from what I understand, that they have their own special rate at Amazon. I thought they were all against Amazon. Now they seem to be pushing it. They claim they've been working with Amazon for years.
Supposedly they're not against cheap freight either. I seen that post too. All of a sudden it changed 3 years ago, supposedly.
Yeah.
Who knows? How was your vacation?
It was wonderful. I need another one.
You just got back. Settle down.
It almost convinced me that I should just retire.
That doesn't sound bad.
I know. I enjoyed it. I spent almost all of my time outdoors, slept in a tent, got away from technology. My stress levels went down. My sleep got better. But then I missed all you guys.
That some of you guys, yeah.
Yeah, some.
Yeah.
I guess not all.
No.
But the other reason, I've talked about why I wanted to do the Fight Club, why I set up the rules. I think we all need to learn how to talk to each other about tough topics without screaming at each other, and we don't do it anymore. And that was my biggest motivator. But the other motivator is I will not debate on social media. I just won't do it. It's frustrating. It's not productive. It's a waste of time. But I post a lot. And when I post, I will get pushback. And I'm just not going to debate somebody on social media. So I thought, well, I'll give them an opportunity to debate in a space where it's actually, we can learn something from it. It's not just screaming back and forth on text where you miss all the nuance and all of that. So I really thought that all these people that always want to disagree with what I post would actually come in here and debate me. But I had 2 people today, 2 people that have been really pushing back hard on me for 2 topics. One of them was the independent contractor issue. He won't come in and debate. He absolutely said no. And then there was one about, calories in and calories out in weight loss. And I say it's total bunk. Calories have almost nothing to do with it whatsoever. But he won't come in and debate me on that topic either. He still believes in that the laws of thermodynamics, which are relevant to machines, that is somehow relevant to the human body when it's not, but they won't come in and debate me on it.
And if all food was 100% identical, because I can guarantee you the like 2,000 or 3,000 grams or calories of ground beef and steak I ate is 100% different than the 3,000 calories of a Subway sandwich or a McDonald's.
Absolutely. That is 100%. The point.
And they're going to act completely different.
Yeah. We talk about machines. Machines are consistent, and the fuel we put in or the energy we put in to make a machine work is the same. We may put gasoline in one and diesel in another, but we don't have one machine where we put 1,000 different kinds of fuel in. So to try to take this law of thermodynamics that applies to machines and energy and apply it to a human body and food is just ignorant. And like many, many other things around health, they convinced us a long time ago that it was true. And now they can tell you if you're fat, it's your own fault. I used to repeat that line over and over and over. I'm just as guilty on this as everybody else was, but I learned something new. I used to say it too. Look, if you're fat, it's because you eat too much and you don't move enough. I was completely wrong when I made that statement. And now I try to convince people how wrong I was and what's right, but they won't come in and debate me on it. So,
have you tried growing hair? Maybe they'll respect you then.
I doubt it.
Yeah, it's worth a shot,
I doubt it. The last time I had hair, I was like 25, and nobody really respected me then. So.
I just had about 1.25 pounds worth of steak and cooked in butter. It was delicious.
Yeah, see, those calories are very, very different than a meal at a
loaf of bread
restaurant.
and
right
a Snickers candy bar and a ho-ho or a Twinkie.
To believe that 1,000 calories of a candy bar and 1,000 calories of steak will affect our body the same way is just total ignorance.
Fascinating,
I guess you can sum it up to calories matter. It's what kind of calories they are. Because at the end of the day, all it is calories is just a measurement of burning that item, that object, and raising water 1 degree Celsius. Am I correct?
You are correct in how we measure it, but it goes even.
But
deeper.
That's not how our body does it.
Yeah, it goes even deeper than that. I can almost say that calories don't matter at all.
I don't watch them.
I don't count them. I have no idea. I don't care how many calories are in food.
Yeah,
it is
me either.
Completely meaningless to me. I never even.
I said 3,000 on a guesstimate number. I think that's about what I ate.
Yeah, and it could be.
I mean, I probably won't eat for another till this time tomorrow. I'll be honest. I think that was last time I ate. Before that, I had some beef jerky last night.
Yes, some people have tried to claim that, well, yes, keto or carnivore works because but it works because it forces you to consume less calories. So they still want to bring it back to the calories. And that is partially true. You won't overeat protein and fat the way you overeat carbohydrates and junk food. So that is one factor.
Can.
But I can still prove to somebody that you could eat 1,500 calories of fatty meat a day or 1,500 calories of the standard American diet a day, the exact same number of calories. You could try to get your activity as close as possible, and the results will be wildly different. So even the exact same number of calories will not cause weight gain the same, not even close.
That's the whole good calories, bad calories.
It's all weight gain and loss is not about the calories in our food. It's about how they affect our hormones.
It's the sugar and fat.
Well, in without getting too specific, it's about how
the
any
sugar or carbohydrates.
It's about how any food we eat affects our hormones. Calories are almost meaningless. It's how insulin is number one. The foods we eat, does it trigger insulin or not? If it triggers insulin, your body is going to store the calories as fat. If it doesn't trigger insulin, your body's going to burn the calories as energy. Two very different outcomes.
Dude, I haven't had an energy drink in over 3 weeks since I started. Just, I don't know shit about the carnivore. I knew the list, what to eat. A few people on X were like, buy this, stay away from this. All right, cool. And I'm just stuck to that. I haven't had energy drinks. I ain't getting tired, getting better night's sleep. I just ride.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really simple. Once you understand, it's not complicated at all. All right, final offer
Well,
here.
congratulations on the no energy drinks.
Kevin.
Yes.
Hi.
Oh, I love them. I used to drink 2 a day.
Hey, Milo, you finally made it here.
Hi, Josh.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I really didn't see, there wasn't a space popping up. You know, it just wasn't there, and it just finally popped up on my side. And anyway, yeah. So I was gonna introduce, if we don't have a formal debate per se, I was thinking of throwing something on the fire call. I would call it woke busters, and it might be it might be just something controversial. And I have a couple of things, and I don't know that it's actually a debate, but this is the best forum for it. So when I say something, which I'm about to, and maybe
Just
it's
say
controversial.
it, Milo. Who gives a
What's
fuck?
that? What'd you
Just
say?
say it, brother. Just say it. It's a bunch of
All
truck
right.
drivers here.
All right, bro. So I'm in, first of all, I think I was in a restaurant sitting next to a guy, and I wasn't paying attention to him. I was listening to his voice. And all of a sudden, I turn and look at him, and he's 100% dressed as and made up as a female. And my contention is, I don't want to have to take him seriously. I won't disrespect him, but it freaked me out, and he could see it in my face. And I don't want to have to take it seriously. And I hear you laughing, Kevin. So go ahead.
Well,
Milo, was he hot? Was he hot?
Yeah. I'm gonna say big negative on that one.
Yeah. Here's what I'm a little confused about this. So I have always been of the attitude that I don't care who adults sleep with. Don't involve children. Let's just set that aside. If this is all consenting adults, I don't care who sleeps with who. I don't care who wears what. I don't care if you like makeup and high heels and you got a package. None of that matters to me. When it started mattering to me is when you start messing with kids. And when you start demanding that I buy into your insanity and that I have to use some sort of certain pronoun for you, I don't even I don't even care if you make it very clear to me what your pronouns of choice are. I'm not using them. Sorry, I'm not buying into your insanity.
When you require me to participate in your delusional fantasies, I am out.
Exactly.
Thank you.
That's not going to happen.
Right. Someone on the tribe wrote, your mental illness doesn't affect my sexual orientation. And I if you go out in public in a completely normal, straight, normal, everyday people restaurant, and you're dressed as a woman, that freaks me out, and I'm not apologizing for it.
No, that kind of freaks me out too. I mean, it really does. But I'll deal with it. Because it doesn't have to bother me. I can ignore you.
Or you're not used to it.
Try running into one in a gym locker room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So two things. Here's one more place that I have a hard no. You can identify any way you want. You can use whatever pronouns you want. I'm not using them. You can dress any way you want, sleep with whoever you want. Men should not be allowed in women's sports.
I don't know if hard no is what you wanted to say, but go ahead.
Yeah, that men should not be competing with women. I'm not sure why anybody thinks that that's okay. I am actually shocked when I hear people play this down as though it's okay. There's nothing okay about that at all. I have said many times I am very.
I had that exact argument with my daughter when she came out to me. I told her that's fine, but you're going to be a girl. If you're into girls, that's fine, but you're going to be a girl. None of this you think you're a boy shit.
I am very competitive, and I love sports, and I love competition, and it's good for all of us. This is not competition. When a male is allowed to punch a female in the back of the head and he didn't even get penalized for it in the Olympics, first off, he should have never been in the ring. But then that is just completely wrong to me. Here's the other thing I'm shocked about. How did this get so big so fast?
Media is the virus.
I live in a very, very small
Corporate
town.
America.
I live in a town of less than 2,000 people. And then my other property is in a town of about the same size, two very small towns, and I drive through one other small town to get back and forth. So I am nowhere near a city. I realize I'm in Oregon, but I'm out in the country. And most people in Oregon out in the country are pretty conservative. On a trip, on a 30-minute drive through the countryside the other day in a couple of little towns, I saw two of these freaks walking down the street.
It's the internet. It's until the smartphones come out, they didn't have the community that they had. And then they had Twitter. Twitter became their community.
So what I don't understand then, if there are really that many of them, we just didn't know about it all this time, what goes wrong? What goes wrong with somebody that they're... Look, like I said, I don't care what adults do, but I'm curious as to what goes wrong where a man with a beard and a deep voice dresses up as a woman.
Well, Kevin, I think it was you that posted something about fluoride this morning or reposted it. And that shit's been used by the government to make us lethargic and apathetic and don't give who the fuck knows what's in the chemtrails, what's in the food, really.
I got a bunch of pushback on that one.
Soy is in everything. Almost.
Soy, yeah.
People were trying to tell me on that one because I said I'm glad I have a well. They were trying to tell me how dangerous my well water is.
Yeah, it's because you don't need them. That's why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dangerous to them.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I'm going to say it has to do with my generation. I'm 45. We had it not the easiest growing up, but we've made everything easier on our children. And maybe a little bit before me, the generation before me, which would be my sister, which was 10 years older. My nephew is trans, thinks he's a woman.
Yeah.
It just seems like
it started at a young age, but
making stuff easy for your kids doesn't cause them to put on a pair of pumps.
So how many people speaking right now are 50 or 60 in that age group?
I am.
Okay. So can you imagine in elementary school what would have happened to you or I if we showed up in class one day looking like this?
You ever hear of a party?
Even in my age group.
This wasn't even close to being acceptable at all in any way, shape, or form. There was no way any boy would ever do anything to look more feminine or act more feminine.
I knew a kid in high school. And
sure they did. They absolutely did.
But there were a few
men played female roles in theater way back.
Yeah, but that's theater.
Correct, and even some Asian cultures before death would actually do up their face with makeup and things like that.
And Sage, that was because women didn't have any rights back then.
And the numbers were
I also just said about
talking about an
Asian cultures.
I was talking about an elementary classroom in the United States. I gave a very specific example. An elementary school in the United States when I was growing up.
Kevin, what about all the drag queens in England and in the founding of our country wearing wigs and makeup and shit?
Well, the wigs in court weren't feminine. There's nothing feminine about that.
Right, and they weren't trying to fool anybody.
Correct.
What I heard, it was a sanitation thing for head lice.
Probably was. I mean, there was probably some practical reason in the beginning why they did it, but it had nothing to do with somebody not knowing what gender they are. We actually have a very, very large part of the population now that is confused about what their gender is, and many who don't believe that gender is even a thing. You can't tell me that it was anything like that in the 60s and 70s. Wasn't even close.
You didn't have a bunch of fat, sick people running around either, Kevin. It all happened at the same time.
Yeah, I think
so most of this stuff is based on.
I think it has something to do with the water they're drinking or the food they're eating.
Most of this stuff is based on your hormone levels within a person, right?
Correct.
Hormone levels thrown up, and they can do this stuff.
Yep.
So as we give hormones to animals to make them grow faster, so you can eat more meat,
you are correct.
How does that not affect the situation?
You are absolutely correct. We have poisoned our food supply to the point that it does mess with hormones. And here's what it does primarily. It increases estrogen in both men and women, but you get two different results. If you increase estrogen in men, they tend to become more like women. And we can look around. We have a whole group of people we now refer to as soy boys. That they look much more feminine than males should. And we can see that. It's a physical thing. But in women, it does the opposite. Too much estrogen makes a woman, it throws her estrogen, testosterone levels off and makes them more manly. That's exactly what we're seeing. People who can't figure out what gender they are because their hormones are so out of whack because of our poisoned food supply. I agree with that completely.
I wonder if we could correlate the changes in the food supply from mainly glass containers, like for sodas, to plastic, sugar to high fructose corn syrup, and when did the government take over the schooling systems?
And what about glyphosate and forever chemicals and fluoride in the water and chlorine in the water? And we
I remember weekly doing the mouthwashes with fluor. You know, we need more fluoride, you know, and in grade school, we all got in a line at the sink, and that was in the classroom, and we got our little Dixie cup of fluoride liquid, and we swished it around in our mouth because, you know, it was supposed to prevent cavities.
Which it doesn't. It really doesn't help with cavities whatsoever, and it creates it's a horrible neurotoxin. There's all kinds of reasons, and yet we put it in water. We had some doctors who thought we should put statins in water.
Well, they prescribe it so much, they think it's the easier way to do it.
No, that's exactly right. They believe everybody should be on a statin, so you might as well put it in the water. I take the opposite approach. Nobody should be on a statin.
And who's to say they're already not doing it, but in low doses? But probably not, because there's too many small I can't say the word, that controls their own water. Whatever.
Well,
that controls their own water supplies.
I can tell you here in my home in Cascade Locks, where I am today, where I live full time, we are on city water. We have some of the cleanest city water I've tested water all around the country when I travel. I take water testers with me. I test it everywhere. We have the cleanest water I've ever tested here. They don't use fluoride in our water here, and they use very, very little chlorine because they don't need to use much because the water's so clean already. So I'm very happy drinking the tap water from the city here where I live. I wouldn't in most places. In the Washington property, I've got a well, and I am nowhere near any kind of human activity, so it's really, really clean water. But most places I go around and test the water in the country, it's awful.
Yeah.
Kevin, I got a question about vaccines.
Yeah.
So, Michael, he's got his twin boys, and he's got his 6-month-old daughter?
Coming up on 8 maybe now, yeah.
I'm assuming he's not.
Oh, you are
not getting many.
You're breaking up. Start over. Jeremy? Uh-oh. Is anybody hearing Jeremy? Did I lose him or is he just gone?
No, he went in a tunnel
he's
or
gone.
something.
Okay.
Yeah.
He probably got the vaccine.
I'm
that's
here.
why.
Oh, there you are.
I'm here.
There you are. Start over because
Okay.
I didn't hear any of it.
Okay, I'm assuming he hasn't gotten her any vaccines.
I believe
Or
that's
let
the
them
case,
give her
right?
any vaccines.
Yeah, I believe that's the case.
Because I've got a 10-month-old daughter that hasn't had any either, and I'm wanting to keep it that way.
I would.
And I'm trying to. And I'm curious. What's his plan going forward if he doesn't want her to get any?
Well, his kids
For
don't
going
go
to school
his,
and
his kids don't go to public
Homeschool.
school.
Pretty sure Michael's homeschooling them.
No, they go to a private school. The twins are in a
private, same difference.
They're in a private Christian
well,
school.
no,
Well,
I'm in Oklahoma, and I'm looking into it to sending her to the private school, but they state on there too that they have to be vaccinated unless they have a waiver to get around it, and I've got to look into that. But I was just
here's
usually it's a religious exemptions.
Here's how I would
right.
approach this.
And that's not really a private school then.
And this is how I would approach this if I had kids today. I would do whatever I had to do, one, to keep them out of public schools, and two, not to vaccinate them no matter what. So if that meant homeschooling, if it meant moving to a different state, whatever it takes, that's what I would do if I had kids today. They would not be in public school because our public schools they've always been bad. They are horrendous now. And there's no way I would vaccinate anybody for anything anymore.
Has anyone run into a situation where, you want to get married or have kids with someone and she's been vaccinated and, is that worth the risk? Has anyone run into that situation?
That'd be interesting to know.
For having children?
Yeah, say you're not vaccinated and you fall in love with a woman who is vaccinated, a young woman. I would avoid it personally, but I'm just curious if anyone's run into it.
I'm the only one in my household without it that hasn't had a shot.
Did you did anybody see Fauci's post today? Is he really that dumb? Why would he post this kind of stuff? Why he actually posted that he got COVID again for the third time and he's had 6 shots.
Asshole.
Like, why wouldn't you just ignore that? Why would you announce that to anybody?
My wife works in a nursing home, and a lot of them people are, quote, vaccinated, and she still has COVID randomly running through the building.
As far as I know, I don't believe I've had COVID yet. I won't test because the test is a joke. I did get sick for a couple of days once. Lisa got sick first. She tested it. It was actually a positive test for COVID. So I'm assuming maybe I got it that time. I'm not sure.
It's weird.
Go ahead.
On that aspect, my wife works in a nursing home. They didn't have it for a year and a half. And then in 2022, I think it was, or 2021, they had an outbreak. Took out a third of the population. She had it once or twice. My daughter's had it 2 or 3 times. I did absolutely no precautions. I had it once. I did nothing.
Yeah, I think I might have had it once. What I just read this morning, we are back to 1 million cases a day right now.
Yeah, the media is the virus.
Yeah.
Sure
Yeah, they're claiming 1 million cases a day right now.
We better not vote. By the way, let me take this opportunity to say something I said before, and I'm going to say repeatedly as we get closer to the next presidential election. Dan Bongino was saying, obviously there's going to be huge election fraud, and so the Republicans like to go and vote. They quote make a statement on election day, which is what I like to do. But he says vote early, by effect, putting your vote in the bank, so to speak, because the day you go to vote, there's going to be a water main break. The printers are going to be out of ink. The power is going to be down. They're going to say, come back in an hour and a half, which no one can do. And then that's how they're going to get your votes out. And if you, on your paper ballot, if you see a stray mark, a scratch, a random letter, throw it out and tell them, give me a blank one, because it's fraud, and we need to be on the lookout for it. I just want to throw that out there.
We just need to add something. We need to at least copy the Democrats. It's not enough to vote early. You have to vote early and often.
Early and often, and
right.
With the dead.
Yeah,
right. When I die, don't let me die. When I die, don't let me vote Democrat. Yeah.
We have to vote early and often. That's the only way we're going to win this.
Are we taking our tinfoil hats with us too to vote? Make sure we're covered, or no?
I would.
I'm not sure how anybody gets by with a tinfoil hat these days. I have a full bodysuit.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Come on, if anybody wants to talk to me about conspiracy theories since 2020, and actually we don't even have to go just on COVID. Almost everything I was saying early on, and not just me, a lot of people were saying this early in 2020. The vaccine can't possibly be safe and effective. We can't know that yet. There's no way we could know that. That's all we were. We were cautious about a vaccine that came out of nowhere for a virus. We are not good at creating vaccines for viruses. The common cold is a virus. We don't have a vaccine for it. HIV is a virus that decimated populations. We don't have a vaccine for it.
Tell us all about Baycol and Vioxx. Tell us about
Vioxx killed tens of thousands of people before they finally pulled it off the market, and that went through all of that testing. Exactly. The vaccine went through zero testing that mattered. They had a control group, and within the first 30 days, they dropped the control group. So now the test is worthless. It was short-term only. There were 100 red flags about this vaccine early on, but if you said that, you got censored and deleted, and you were a conspiracy theorist. It's all true now. How many more things could I go through? For years, I was told, you're going to kill people with your keto diet. All that fat is going to give them a heart attack. That was a conspiracy theory. We were lied to for years and years and years. So I am a full-blown conspiracy theorist these days. I could go through so many things they've told us about health. Calories matter. They don't matter. Salt is bad for us. No, it's not. The sun is bad for us. No, it's not. Those are all the things we need to be healthy, and they did everything they could to make us avoid those things.
Well, look at the American Diabetes Association. Their website says, you can eat jelly donuts, basically, and you can drink.
And there was a time where I gave them the benefit of the doubt and said, maybe we just don't know yet. You can't say that anymore. We absolutely know not everything, but we know a lot about nutrition to know that the sun is good for us. We should get as much of it as we can on bare skin. Salt is good for us. We can't really overdo it. Your body won't let you. Fatty meat is good for us, and your body won't let you overdo that either. I could go on and on and on and on about all the things they have told us for decades about health that are absolute lies. And they knew better, and they know better today, and they continue the lie. So I will proudly wear my tinfoil bodysuit.
Can't overdo a bag of Doritos, though. I don't think so, anyway. It's not engineered to be addictive or anything.
Correct. Yeah. When I found out that the food industry has a term called the bliss point, that they spend millions of dollars on to create a product that brings you so much bliss when you eat it, you can't stop. That's how our food supply has been designed.
Hey, I just thought of Doritos, of bliss. What?
Yeah. I think Doritos was actually the first food that theory was applied to. Now it's applied to almost all junk food. They shoot hard to find that bliss point. They manipulate salt, sugar, and fat in a particular food to create a bliss point where it's so enjoyable to eat you have a hard time stopping.
Yeah.
And I work for that company.
I used to.
I drive around. I drive around a big old truckloads of poison every day.
Isn't that crazy? I know.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and how many different flavors there are now compared to when I started 20 years ago.
Oh Yeah, and part of that is also the bliss point. Here's why. Because there's something else about our body. If you eat too much of the same food, your body will just stop eating it. Your body will say something's wrong here. This isn't the way you should eat. The only exception to that is fatty meat and animal products, but you just won't overeat it. But another way to get somebody to overeat a food, not only is it to engineer the fat, sugar, and salt to the bliss point, but it's to constantly change what it tastes like. Because your body will never, ever get tired of it that way. You get tired of the Cool Ranch Doritos, and you can eat the hot and fiery Doritos, or you can eat the dill pickle Doritos, or you can eat the cotton candy Doritos. And that is why they have so many different flavors. Because if there's only one, you'd eventually get tired of it, and your body wouldn't want to eat
a coochie flavor.
Think of it. Really, the majority of all the junk processed food in our grocery stores all share about 90% of the same ingredients. They're the same food over and over and over again, repackaged a different way.
Need cotton candy ribeye. Isn't that natural? That's so. That's such a fucking shit show.
Yeah, I haven't had a Frito chip in 2.5 years.
Yeah, there is overwhelming.
This is America. We eat what we want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm all for it. I am not asking anybody to ban any food whatsoever. Nobody has ever heard me say that. Nobody has ever heard me say the government should be promoting beef and not Doritos. I don't care who promotes what. I don't care what companies produce what food, sell it all. I don't care. I'm going to tell people what they should be eating if they want to be healthy.
And eat healthy choices, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, they've tried the healthy stuff at Frito. They just lose money.
Of course,
they just make all their money. Doritos the #1 seller.
Yeah.
I mean, the regular Dorito, and then of course all these. You know, it's unbelievable. It's ridiculous. And the price of them when I started, now a bag of chips is $7. Believe it or not.
You're kidding.
Big bag of chips. No, I'm Tostitos too, with no flavor. Yeah, they're for the big bags, and and then they make them. They put less amounts in them. The weights get smaller. Like you said, shrinkflation. It's damn sure in the in the Frito-Lay world. Believe me.
Yeah,
it's all air.
I was in a hardware store buying some dryer vent. I was replacing my dryer vent. Right in front of me, I noticed they were selling candy, and I just yelled out loud. I was like, $3.39 for a bag of fucking M&Ms. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I thought there was something wrong. And the kid says no, and it's worse because it's a little bit of a fag thing because they can't even call it king size. It was share size because you can't say king because anyway. That's
wait a minute. Are you kidding?
So
they're really dropping the word king size off of food?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Oh, every time I just had this happen again. I am not for like banning people or banning companies. I'm not even so big on all the boycott stuff, but I will boycott things personally myself. I'm fine with that.
You're not going to consumers decide. Exactly.
You're not going to see me try to, spend all my time trying to get anybody else to boycott anything. I don't really care what anybody else does. But if I know a company today, it's all these companies that have gone so woke. That's one of my biggest issues I have with them. If I know a company has gone that woke, I just would rather not do business with them. Guess who I just booked a ticket with? A plane ticket.
Say again?
I just booked a plane ticket because I got to go to the Tucker Carlson event in Salt Lake City. And guess who? You know why I didn't book on Southwest?
Oh, you said why?
I've been a loyal Southwest flyer forever. I just talked about this a couple weeks ago. I don't check prices. I go right to Southwest. I figure out which flight I want, and then I pay the highest ticket price they have because I like all the benefits. I've been doing that for years, and it works for me. Southwest is now going to assign seats. It's one of the only reasons I flew with them is I don't like assigned seats. I love the way Southwest loads the plane. And I do love their attitude and a bunch of things. But I thought if you're going to start assigning seats, I'm going to go back to checking around to see who I really want to fly with. So
you boomers are stubborn.
I booked a flight on Delta, and an hour later, I'm reading how Delta has now dropped their gate side announcement They will no longer say ladies and gentlemen because it's not inclusive enough.
They can fuck off. Seriously, just yeah, you gotta walk. I mean, I can't get on a plane. And your pilot with a penis has probably got a fucking dress and pumps on, and
Kevin,
that's the end of it. I mean,
get you a little Cessna.
That will be the moment that I step back off the plane and go rent a car and drive to wherever I have to go.
Oh my God. Really, it's not inclusive.
Yeah.
Just make sure you rent an American car.
They will no longer say ladies and gentlemen. It sounds completely inclusive to me. Other than ladies and gentlemen, maybe children. What else is there?
Right. And you know what? It's up to us, Kevin, not to self-censor and not to call bullshit on assholes like that. If we just, we're just silent majority, we shouldn't be silent anymore, because fuck that. You can't say ladies and gentlemen, and fuck you. I'm not spending my money there.
That's how I feel. And I will talk about it like I am now. And I'll talk about it on my show. And I'll talk about it everywhere. What I won't do is try to organize a specific boycott of a company. Right. If you want to boycott them, I'll tell you that I probably am. But here's the thing. After what I went through, and I already bought the ticket, and Delta's return policies aren't all that great, I'm going to fly with them. This will be the last time, though. Yeah. And only because I bought the ticket an hour before. Had I read the news before I booked my ticket, I would have booked it on somebody else. So here's something, two things, and then I'm going to wrap this space up in a little while because it looks like the Fight Club idea has died on the vine.
Well,
two things.
We need to pick something controversial. Go ahead.
Well, exactly. I know. I tried, but no matter what I pick, I can't get a challenger. And
I'll send some stuff in during the week.
I'm also willing to do this. I will step aside completely. I'll just run the show. I won't debate anybody. I just need two people to step up and debate each other. I can't even get that.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes. Yes, we hear you. You must not be hearing us. So now I lost my train of thought. I was going to ask for two things. Here's one of them. Give me some themes for a space. If it's not going to be the Fight Club, I would like to do at least a 1 hour space every week, consistent, just put it on my schedule like everything else. But I need a theme. I don't want it to end up being just like all my shows or my group coaching. I want something different. So I thought the Fight Club would be different. Fight Club may not work.
The Jews are dangerous to America.
Zionists? Are we?
I'm sorry, Kevin.
Are we condemning the Zionists now?
No, and here's debate.
It's not. I could come up with thousands of topics to debate that would be fun and informative, but I got to have somebody to debate me. That seems to be the problem. Like I said, it's like when I tried to do the political show called The Pit. Everybody who called in just agreed with me, and it got really boring really fast.
Well, so Kevin, tell people now how to repost this space, and we can get people coming in from other spaces that will want to debate us, and let's call it woke busters and pick a topic throughout the week, and we'll just beat the shit out of it, even if we don't end up debating it. It's our unself-censoring. I mean,
that's not a bad idea. I might try that.
Well, it's hard to have a debate where we're all like-minded people, pretty much.
Well, that's why I said.
Here's what I found.
Well, I'll invite the FBAs, the pro-Palestinian. I'll invite that crowd.
Yeah, I either end up with a room full of people who just agree with me, so it is really hard to have a good spirited debate, or I reach out to the people who have disagreed with the things that I've posted, and I invite them to the debate, and they just say no. They're not going to do it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what else to do.
So let's stack up topics during the week. As people think of them, post them somewhere on your site, and we'll percolate that. We'll be ready for it, and it should be something controversial, and we'll chew on it.
So here's one of the challenges I have. when I think about these kind of things, to me, men competing in women's sports is not controversial at all.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
I don't see that as even being close to controversial, except there are an awful lot of people that I see online who must be okay with it, but you can't ever get them to engage in a discussion.
Yeah. Well.
Now, what I was going to ask something else. Well, oh, I know what it is. If I got a chance, and I don't know if I'm going to have this chance or not, if I got a chance to actually talk to Tucker Carlson for a while, what should I ask him?
Oh, let's see. Oh boy, something that he hasn't been asked before. Yeah, he is. You know, Tucker.
Ask him if
He
he
used
like
to
his
work.
asshole getting licked.
Who doesn't? Now, I don't know. I don't know what I would ask him.
Ask him what he thinks about space aliens and chemtrails. I don't know. It's something he hasn't talked about publicly.
No, he has actually talked about UFOs a lot.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he did. He has. Yeah, you're right.
He's done a lot of shows on UFOs.
Or the JFK assassination, or I'm trying to think off the top of my head, something that he might talk about.
I can't think of a good controversial topic he hasn't covered.
Well, what about maybe because he just did a big, I'll call it a documentary. He did it with the Tesla truck, and maybe and he knows Elon. Ask him if he thinks electric cars are going to survive, or how that's going to pan out in the next 20 years. You know, Tucker. I'm trying to think of what other things you could ask him.
You know, one of the things, I just don't know how to word this right. And even if you word it right, I'm not sure if there's a good answer to this or not. But I know that because of all the reading and research I do, which is just about every day, I spend quite a few hours. I read headlines, I read the news, I interact, I research stuff, I read about it. I am so burnout and frustrated on how crazy our world and our country has become. When you dive into all of these topics, and I do, because I feel like if I'm on the air and somebody asks me a question, I want to at least understand what they're talking about. Like once in a while, somebody will ask me a question. I'll go, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And I don't like to do that. So I try to stay really informed. But what I find, and then I look at somebody like Tucker, and he goes much, much deeper into many of these topics than I do. He has the ability to interview the people right in the middle of a lot of this stuff, and he lives and breathes this stuff. My question to him, and again, I'm not even sure how to word it. How do you do this every day without almost losing your mind? How do you learn so much about these things that are so wrong, that we're being lied to, that we can prove we're being lied to, that we can see the patterns? How do you do this every day and not lose your mind?
Yeah, I think that's pretty succinct. How do you do it every day and not lose your mind? I mean, I think Rush Limbaugh used to say that he just reached a point where he understood those people, meaning I don't know, the left or the elite, that they're just deranged. And he might have coined Trump derangement syndrome, and he just accepts that for what it is. But I would ask him that. I think it's a good question. How do you stay sane? And
Yeah,
see what he says.
Almost everything else I would ask him, I probably already know what his answer is going to be. I mean, I've watched him enough. I've read his book. I've read, I pretty much know how he thinks. And my one big question would be that: how do you do what you do every day and not lose your mind?
Yeah, it's definitely worth asking.
Because it was a whole lot easier to live in the tent and hang out on the farm for a week and not think about this stuff. All right. Anybody else have anything else? Anybody?
Well, that guy
Can anyone hear me?
Yep, we can.
The other.
Okay, I've been trying to get this thing figured out.
Hey, John, hold on a second. Jake, go ahead.
All right.
The other thing you could.
I wanted
John.
to know, because I have a lot of friends that They won't come on to debate it because it just irritates them too much. But like, whenever I go and I start talking about fasting and keto and all that stuff, they start talking about all the essential nutrients and stuff like that. And I'm trying to figure out how to respond to that. And, you know,
so
like
is their argument that if you're only eating keto or carnivore and you're fasting, that you aren't getting enough nutrients? Is that their take?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's basically their take.
That's easy. And here's why I set up the debate club the way I did. Questions are much more powerful than statements. When you're trying to convince somebody of something, if you can learn how to use good questions rather than just keep making your statements, and a lot of times you can turn your statements into questions and then put it back on them. Because here's what we do. We all have our talking points. And we all just keep repeating our talking points, thinking if we say it enough, they'll finally understand it. But part of the problem is they're not listening because they're repeating their talking points and we're not listening to them. So I set the Fight Club up as you can only ask questions. So here's what I would do. I would ask them if they believe that hunter-gatherers for hundreds of thousands of years had access to food every minute of every day. Or did they fast? And when they did kill a big animal, what else did they eat? Nothing. They ate that big animal till it was gone. They didn't go out and find side dishes. Nobody kills an elk and then goes and looks for some potatoes to roast with it. You didn't do that.
That's true.
So you would go days.
It is, but then they go and they always come back with what was the last one? Their argument after that is, well, hunter-gatherers didn't live that long.
Yes, they did. That one's easy to dispute. The problem is we depend on averages, and averages are really deceiving if you don't understand the rest of the numbers. So let me explain why hunter-gatherers had an average lifespan of about 35 years. Giving birth was one of the most dangerous things you could do. Many women died during childbirth. It is a dangerous thing. And it happens to animals in the wild too. So now and don't forget, during that time, women would get pregnant at 13 and 14 years old. It was very, very common. As soon as they were able to have babies, they were having babies. So now you have a 13-year-old girl who dies in childbirth. That brings the average way down. The baby counts. That's a 0 on the average. So now you had a 14 and a 0. That was very common. That brings the numbers way down. If you broke your leg as a hunter-gatherer, you're probably going to die. We have made huge medical improvements that help keep us alive. We were not at the top of the food chain. There were other animals that killed and ate us. We fought wars constantly. We battled among tribes. People died like that. This is easy to prove. If somebody avoided all those things, hunter-gatherers very regularly lived into their 80s, 90s, and 100s.
I wonder how the trans cavemen, when they gave birth, if they died.
I couldn't come up with anything clever enough to say there. I wanted to,
well,
but
piggyback onto that conversation, I would have to say that the food supply really started getting poisoned probably around the late 80s, early 90s, because that's my generation right there.
No, wait. I'm going to help you out. It originally got poisoned about 10,000 years ago.
Oh, well, yeah, with grains, but I'm talking like the preservatives and the estrogens and
that happened mostly after
all
World
that
War
stuff.
II. And it just progressed more and more. So each generation might feel like their generation did it. But I can say that my grandparents were eating Crisco. That was a horrible, that was a seed oil, basically. It's not oil,
but my generation is the one that has all the trans people in it.
Well, and I believe that is a factor because of my grandparents eating Crisco and then my generation eating poorly, and then the next generation. It's now catching up to us in very extreme ways. So I don't blame it on any of the generations. We all just keep building on the mistakes the previous generation made. We just make them worse.
People forget how damaging generational birth control is.
Oh, that's another bad one. Yeah, really bad.
That's talk about so that's that's worth keeping in mind how people get messed up.
The problem here is I can find tens of thousands of people to disagree with me on almost everything I talk about nutritionally. You can't get any of them to debate with some rules.
Right. Because it's like why Kamala ducks the media, because she can say shit on a teleprompter maybe, but she cannot stand up in the open public and talk.
Hey, you guys know what Kamala and Trump have in common, right?
No, what?
Oh boy.
They both been shot in the face.
Pretty good, dude.
Well, come on. If that's the case, then Kamala should be the hero. Trump's only had to have it happen once.
That's true. Point for Rutherford. Yes, we are.
So
unabashedly bashing.
Milo, I kind of like your theme. Pick a really controversial topic and just come in here and pile on. But
yeah,
that's about the best we've gotten so far. Anybody have any other ideas for a good space format? You don't have to. It doesn't have to be specific. Give me a big idea, format, something different I could do once a week.
Something to do with a speed round, Kevin. Just has like a whole speed round thing. I don't know.
I like those kind of things. I like having to think quick on my feet. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Book reviews or back to the basics, but then again, I had thought on that, and then it's back to be something different than your show. So.
Yeah. So speaking of which, did anybody read the new book that came out? That was the old manuscript from Michael Crichton that they found after he died, and then James Patterson finished it. And I'm looking up the title now because I just read it and I still don't know the title. Eruption. Eruption. Has anybody read that book?
No.
Okay. I remember now why Michael Crichton is one of my favorite authors. That guy is absolutely brilliant. And this story, he writes storylines that are so out there. He's most famous for Jurassic Park. He wrote Jurassic Park and The Lost World. That was the one that made him kind of nationally famous, but he had been writing books back in the 60s. I've been reading Michael Crichton since I was in high school. And this book just came out. It's only in paperback. I was talking about it earlier. Couldn't get it on my Kindle, but I read it in one day on Saturday. Absolutely loved it. It was one of those books I didn't want to see it end.
Well, that's high praise. Maybe we should read it and discuss it.
I would absolutely do a book club, book review space once a week if I can get people involved. I would have a blast with that.
Yeah, well, I've been meaning to tell you that after all these years, and I have physical custody of at least 160 books that I've read on health, and I reached a point where I'm just giving up, and well, not giving up, but just burning out, and so I'm in between topics. So if there's a book club or a book space,
so
I'm in.
I'm at the same point on the health books. It's really hard for me to get excited about a new health book now, and I don't read nearly as many as I was for a while. But I will tell you, if you have not read Rethinking Diabetes by Gary Taubes, you should read it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I do remember you mentioning that. I'll have to get it.
What if we did this? What if we right now we've got quite a few people on this space. I was shocked at how many people are in here. What if we take nominations for a book, see if we can come up with 5 book recommendations, and then we vote on it, and then that's the book we'll talk about next week.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So somebody else has got to manage this because I can't talk. And so how do we we can everybody could put their book recommendation in. What do you guys call it? The pill, the top, what the hell?
Oh, the purple. Yeah, I don't know what they call it. The purple pill, but it's not purple. So put a book up there right now, you say?
Yeah. Anybody that wants to put a book up, a book recommendation in there. And when we hit 5, and people might still be typing some in, we're going to take the first 5 that are up there, and then we'll vote on those 5. We should be able to, that's just a poll, right? So we should be able to put up a quick poll. Who's volunteering to do the admin work here?
Well, I guess I could, but I don't have access to that pill. It's not working.
I don't think
me.
you know how. You don't seem very qualified for that job.
Okay. Wow. Tough crowd.
I'm just
Kevin, I'll do it.
Josh, you usually know what you're doing on this stuff. Thank you. Sorry, Milo. Just being honest.
Yep. I got you.
Peaks and valleys.
I kind of don't trust the guy that took 30 minutes just to come in and join us. Sorry.
Oh boy, brutal. Brutal juice. Brutal.
I heard a good recommendation out there, Peaks and Valleys. That'll be the one thing. If that one wins, I'll have to read it now. That's an easy one too. It's short, should be good, easy. That's the same author that wrote Who Moved My Cheese.
It's 112 pages.
There you go.
Awesome.
So
that's a walk in the park.
4-hour book.
I can read that during breakfast. All right.
Hey.
So is there why can't where is that space even? Why can't I see it? Milo, I'm beating up on you. I don't know how to do this stuff either. Is anybody hearing me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sheesh, got really quiet. So where is this? See, I'm on a computer. I'm not on my phone, so everything works different. I wonder if I can log in on my phone.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
That Atlas Shrugged. All right, I've listened to 2 chapters, and I'm having a hard time, man.
Why?
Does it get better? I hope.
Well, see, it's funny you bring up Atlas Shrugged.
Because, man, it's killing me. I mean, I'm trying, and like everybody loves it, and I'm like, man, I'm not getting this right now. Just come on.
I normally never ever read a book twice. It's really rare for me to do that because there's so many books I want to read. But I have already in my lifetime. I read Atlas Shrugged the first time I was probably 26 or 27. And then I read it again when I was in my 40s. And I'm really thinking I'm going to read it again. And I won't listen to it. I will absolutely read it. Just so people know, the average audio book is probably somewhere between 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah, this one's like 59 or something like that. I'm like, man, if it's going to be like this the whole way, I ain't making it.
One version of it I had was 66 hours on audio. 66 hours, one book. But it's my favorite book of all time. Love that book.
That's what I'm trying. Like I say, man, I'm hoping I got through 2 chapters, and I don't know if it's the guy that's reading it or
that can do it sometimes.
Because I know a lot of other books, I mean, even health books that have a bunch of facts, and just the people's rhythm is a lot better than, I don't know. It might be me. I'm not a big reader anyway. But you know, I just hope it gets better. I'm going to give it a few more chapters.
Yeah. I just,
driving down the road.
I just remember, because I've read a lot of stuff by Ayn Rand. She wrote Atlas Shrugged. She wrote The Fountainhead. She wrote We the People, The Anthem. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And I have loved everything. I love her style of writing. So what I remember is almost being immediately hooked on that book. Okay. And even as long as that book was, I still get the same way towards the end. I don't want them to end. When I'm reading a really good book, I don't want it to end. And even one that long, I just didn't want it to end.
I got you.
So
because it's just setting up the. Yes.
Yeah, maybe it's a little slow in the beginning. Here's the other thing too. I read fast. So I don't listen to books unless it's my only choice. So when I'm traveling and I know I'm going to be driving 12, 13, 14 hours a day, then I'm going to listen to books. And that's the only time I can listen. I can't listen if I'm trying to work out. I can't listen if I'm in the garden. I can't just sit and listen. I can only listen when I drive. If I'm not driving, then I would prefer to read the book. But I read about 2.5 times faster than people read when they're reading out loud.
Yeah, I've never been able to read like that at all. I have to reread stuff to make it sink in a lot of times I'm reading.
Yeah, for me, on a typical book, the typical size of the print and that kind of thing, and the typical size of a page, I can read usually between 60 to 100 pages an hour.
Wow. No, I couldn't do that at all. Never.
So,
but I'll give it a chance.
Yeah. So sometimes for me, I get into the meat of the book a lot faster, so I don't get bored as they're setting things up. That might be what you're going through right now.
Yeah. I'll get, like I say, I'll give it a chance.
Yeah.
I get tired of the health books too. The facts and over beating it down. So
yeah,
need some adventure in your life.
I enjoyed this book by Michael Crichton so much. I'm going to go back through his books and make sure that I think there's one of his famous books that I don't remember reading. I think it's called The Great Train Robbery. I don't think I've ever read that one. So I may go back and see what I can find. Are we getting any book recommendations? Anybody? Is anything in there yet? Hello? Josh, where'd you go?
And maybe put a limit on the time of the book.
Yeah, Atlas Shrugged right now would not be a good recommendation. It'd be awesome if we got the book club to the point where we had a lot of serious readers and we could do a book like that.
Yeah, be a 6 or 8 hour book so we can get it done in a day and maybe even reread it before we come to discuss it.
Yeah, we do need to pick something that's reasonable and probably even on the shorter side in the beginning. So far, Peaks and Valleys might be a good one.
Right. 8 hour book at most, I think, is on Audible would be a fair time for us to read in a week. Maybe you can get through it twice so we can have a good discussion on it the following week.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Josh, are you listening? Is anybody hearing me again? I'm wondering. Nobody's responding. Hello? Anybody?
Yeah, I can hear
Kevin,
you.
can you hear me?
I can. And no,
okay. There's a heap of people talking back that they can't hear, or you can't hear them. So the people who Kevin can't hear, drop down and come back up because you obviously can't hear you guys. And it's funny.
Thank
people
you.
are asking you questions.
Yeah.
And you're just continually talking. It's like, is Kevin ignoring them or not? He definitely cannot hear them. I'll shut up again.
Oh, okay. So I finally found the chat. So Josh was trying to tell me there's an error in Xcode and the stream can't find my space. Then he found it. And now he's giving me a link where we can comment. And nobody's commented yet. So I'm going to put in the first one from John, Peaks and Valleys. And that's Spencer. What's his name? Isn't that Spencer somebody?
I can't recall off the top of my
head. Spencer Johnson. Does that sound right? I'm looking it up.
Yes, that's correct.
Spencer Johnson. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he wrote Who Moved My Cheese? He also wrote Peaks and Valleys. So that is the first book on the list. Can everybody see it? It should be up there right now. Oh my God. Let me fix that. I got to delete it and start over. I don't know how I typed that bad. That's because
Any of the Biggles books.
That's because I can't talk and type at the same time. What'd you say?
Any of the Biggles books by Captain W.E. Johns. He was it's all about World War One. British squadron. They all flew soft with camels. Don't worry, I'm just being facetious.
Oh, okay. So can everybody see the recommendation I put up in the chat?
You might have to throw a link up in the jumbotron.
I think that's where we put it. I think Josh put a link up there. That's how I got here. I still think there's a lot of people I'm not hearing.
It.
Yeah, Kevin, you've been walking over a bunch of people, and I don't think you're hearing them.
I'm not. I'm only hearing a couple people. I'm not trying to talk over everybody. I'm just not hearing people.
That's what I figured.
I was taking a cold shower. I'm back.
Got it. Do you want to report on shrinkage?
Yeah, no comment.
Got it. It's understandable.
You will respect the foreskin. The foreskin is awesome.
I'm not getting started on that. I'm just not going there this week. We need more book recommendations. Come on, Mike. The other idea is going to die on the vine here too.
I can't put it up there, but Rudolph Diesel. What's the Rudolph Diesel book? I can't type it in right now. But
hey, I got a quick one for you.
Go ahead.
Gulag Archipelago.
Gulag Archipelago. Really?
Yes.
Okay. Are you putting it in?
Well, I don't know how. Your comment thing doesn't work.
That's the problem. Things don't seem to be working right. I should be writing these down at least till we get it figured out. Gulag Archipelago. What is that about? I am trying to, in my mind, imagine what a book with that title would be about.
Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn is about. He used to be an officer in the Red Army, and as communists and Bolsheviks always do, they eat their own. He got to experience the lovely prison system of the Soviet Republic from the inside out, and he wrote about his experience and a bunch of other people. If that book doesn't turn you off from collectivism and socialism, nothing will.
That one sounds interesting. It does not sound like a feel-good book.
It's hard to listen to. I got to warn everybody about that. The audio version of that book is pretty rough.
I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about books like that, has anybody ever gotten all the way through the book? What's the book about the Fed? The creature. No, what is
The Creature from Jekyll Island?
Yes. Has anybody ever gotten through that whole book? I'm going to take that as a no. I don't feel so bad. I'm a big reader and I can't get through that one.
What about Jordan Peterson's The Maps of Meaning?
Did you like it?
I liked it, but man, I can't get through it.
So here's the problem I have with Jordan Peterson, and I feel like an outcast with this one. He's really popular. I kept seeing his name, and I had no idea who he was. But I would just see his name a lot because I read so much and headlines, and I'm on. So I kept seeing this name, and I'm like, why is this? I see he's got a big following. Who is this guy? And he wrote a book about 12 rules for life or something along those lines. And I thought
12 rules. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
I should go read his book. But before I got a chance to read the book, I was taking the course to become a Wim Hof trainer. And part of the course was some of the video interviews that Wim Hof has done with people. And one of them was Jordan Peterson. So I thought, oh, well, I'll get to know him a little bit, and then I'll go read the book. I almost couldn't get through the interview. And every time I tell people about this, I want somebody else to go watch this video. He sounded like the biggest whiner. And I was not impressed with the guy at all in any way. I thought, I don't get it. What's so impressive about this guy? But clearly there's something. And I must be missing it. And that might have been a really bad interview for him or something, but I was not impressed.
Go check him out on Rogan.
Okay. I got to watch something other than the video I watched, because I was not impressed with his interview with Wim Hof at all. All right. Do we have any other books?
Yeah, check him. Yeah, The Absent Superpower.
The Absent Superpower. All right, I'm writing him down. And since the technology isn't working, I may just have to
that's
myself.
That's Peter Zeehan's. That's Peter's.
Oh.
That's Peter Zeehan's book that he wrote before The End of the World. But what's cool about that book is you can actually see what he predicts actually came true and what didn't.
Got it.
Because he wrote that book. It came out in 2016. He actually predicted Russia going into Ukraine.
Well, come on. That's like predicting a cop going into a donut shop.
Well, that's the one thing he got right.
Well, see, that doesn't bode well for me. If the only one he got right was Russia's going to attack you, of course Russia's going to attack Ukraine. They've been talking about it since the Soviet Union fell apart.
Well, what he got severely wrong is that he predicted that they were going to go through Ukraine in a few days and get into the rest of Eastern Europe.
Well, and that's a big thing to get wrong.
Yeah.
It's a really big thing to get wrong. See, that's what I mean. So much of what I see about, well, no, this is Peter Zeehan now. I don't want to confuse him with Jordan Peterson. Peter Zeehan, I've only read that one book. I clearly said I really don't agree with most of his politics, but I thought the book was brilliant. Whether it's right or not, yet to be seen. Maybe he's just going to be way off on these predictions too, but I thought they were brilliantly thought out. And I didn't see those coming. I mean, when somebody says Russia's going to attack Ukraine, yeah, big deal. That of course they are. I don't think anybody didn't expect that at some point.
Well, he also gets very deep into the shale revolution that we had.
Yeah.
And explaining about the oil.
That's
industry.
So more of what I found interesting with him is he seems pretty liberal to me politically, but he does not buy into the whole green agenda at all. In fact, it's the opposite.
Yeah, he talks about that at the end of this one too.
Yeah. It's
interesting just how little impact solar and wind actually has on our power grids and how useless they are in most of the world.
I have no problem with us exploring these technologies. I've talked about the advantages of some electric things. I'm not against it, but to think that we're just going to replace oil is insane. And even as positive as I was about some of the electrical stuff, I'm less positive now than I was 3 years ago because I'm not impressed long term with some of this stuff. I am really disappointed with battery life.
Even the windmills need a oil change, and it's 80 gallons when they do an oil change on the windmills.
Well, we can just take all those nasty seed oils out of our diet and use that to lubricate the windmills. That's what they were originally meant for.
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
No, that's what
Rudolph Diesel. That's what Rudolph Diesel wanted to burn originally in his engine.
Yeah,
was vegetable oil.
They were designed as industrial lubricants. That's what seed oils were. And then somebody decided it would be a good idea to start eating them. It was a really bad idea.
But I also second that diesel book.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's put that one on the list. Does anybody remember the name of that book? Oh, The Mysterious Case of Rudolph Diesel. That's what it is.
Yes, that's a great one.
I haven't finished that one yet. I started it and then got sidetracked, and I haven't gone back to it. Maybe I should pick that one. Now,
the beginning is very slow and kind of sucks, but it gets really interesting towards the end.
That's probably why I was busy and I had a lot of other reading to do. And the beginning of the book, I'm just like, I'm just not getting into this. Everybody said it was such a great book, but I wasn't getting into it. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this easy. We're not voting this week because the technology doesn't seem to be working right. I've always said my show's a dictatorship anyway, so I'm choosing the book, Peaks and Valleys by Spencer Johnson. Nice, easy read, 112 pages. What is that? Maybe 2.5 hours on audio?
Yeah.
Can't be much more than that. 3 hours, maybe. So that's our book. And next week, we'll kick off the space as a book club. But if somebody wants to bring back the debate idea, I'm all for it. I just got to get somebody to debate.
I quit bugging you about it.
That's right. And we'll get to talk about it all at once. We'll just get it all out there. We'll talk about it. That should be fun.
I kind of want to have a debate with you about X3 bar versus the gym, but I need to do a little more research.
Oh, please. That would be a good one. That would be a good one. Now, here's the thing I'm going to tell you about all of my opinions about exercise. You're not going to get a whole lot of science or facts from me, because I can't find a lot of science and fact that supports much of anything.
It supports whatever their author wants it to support.
Exactly. Even more so than nutrition, when it comes to exercise and results, I tend to put a whole lot more faith into just individual results that people get, and individual results that I've gotten over the years by trying different things. I don't have any real strong scientific arguments for my opinions on any of that.
I don't either, but I read that book or listened to that book, Lifting Weights is a Waste of Time. I think it's the title of it.
Yep.
There were some things that, made a lot of sense, but there was some other stuff in there that just blew my mind that they would actually put that in.
Give me an example.
They were talking about boner pills for pre-workout.
Oh,
for the nitric oxide. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Why the hell would you go and take a freaking Cialis as a pre-workout pill when you could just get clean supplements you can get clean supplements for a hell of a lot less money and with no side effects.
Yeah, you know me. I don't even remember that being in the book, but if I would not be for that at all. No,
it was towards the end of it.
Yeah.
And the guy was talking about before he does his photo shoots, he dehydrates himself for 24 hours to look buffer.
Now that I get.
Yeah.
That I get.
Well, I get it too, but it's not very healthy.
No, I'm not recommending it. But, I grew up in the wrestling world where we did a lot of that stuff. I did own a gym, and we had a lot of competitive bodybuilders and weightlifters, power lifters. So they dehydrated themselves for two reasons. One, to make weight. Many times that was the way to get that last 5 to 10 pounds off and get in a class that you normally wouldn't be able to reach if you didn't dehydrate yourself. And two, in bodybuilding, the more water you can get out, the more definition you see in muscle. So I've been around all that stuff a lot, but it doesn't mean I agree with it for health. But I just, my experience and many other people I watched got so much better results out of 10 minutes a day than I used to get out of 2 hours a day. That was what convinced me.
Kevin, here's a good place to put in a plug for Cardio Miracle based on the nitric oxide comment.
Yeah, I was.
You put that contest.
And it makes total sense that when you are working out, you want as much nitric oxide in your body as you can, and you want excellent blood flow. I get that, but there's no way I'm taking the purple pill for that. No, Cardio Miracle will be just fine. Thank you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. You're not going to get me to debate that one. But I will debate the idea that much of what we thought we knew about resistance training, like many other things, has been very, very wrong.
Peaks and Valleys is only 2 hours and 8 minutes long on Audible.
There you go. See, everybody should be able to finish that this afternoon. And then listen to it again next Sunday. All right, so that's our choice. I see a hand up. The original, jump in here. That's original.
Oh yeah, that was just to add to your gym hill taking. My cousin used to be a professional. I think it was cage fighting or something bizarre like that. So he used to, it was, you know, gym every day, eating only protein. And he and the guys used to take steroids, which, you know, are illegal. And he said, you know, he was just angry all of the time.
Yeah.
You know, had no sex drive. And you know, it's a really horrible feeling to have. And he'd only take them when he was having some sort of fight, and he was very good at it. But I was like, Jesus, that doesn't sound like a good idea to me.
You know, when you think about competitive sports across the board, we do some pretty stupid things. We spend a lot of money. We endanger our own health. I kind of understand it. I'm a very competitive person myself. When I owned a gym in the early 80s, and that was the peak of the steroid phenomenon, I would think. It was worse then than it is now. And it was not unusual when we would clean up at the end of the day, we would find hypodermic needles in the trash. I mean, we had people injecting steroids in the locker room, and we had the gym was in Ohio, and we had figured out a couple things. One, somebody found a doctor in Cleveland that basically you showed up, started talking about working out and that you were having a hard time recovering, and you would walk out with a prescription for 2 or 3 different steroids. And the only place you could fill them was at the drugstore next door. Because if you took them to any other pharmacy, they would turn them down. They wouldn't even fill the prescription for you. So when that was getting difficult, we had people who were making runs from Ohio to Mexico because you could buy steroids over the counter. You could also get prosecuted and put in jail for trying to bring them back over the border, but people were doing it. I mean, it was crazy back then. My partner in the gym, who was he was Mr. Teenage Ohio when he was 19, and he was the youngest ever Mr. Ohio when he turned 20. He was ranked 5th in the nation for a while. He would take anything. That if somebody told him this will help you grow more muscle, he would try it. And he was still living at home, and he was still on his parents' health insurance. He somehow managed to get a doctor to write him a prescription for rhesus monkey hormones. Because I guess pound for pound, the rhesus monkey's like one of the strongest animals on the planet. And he was taking rhesus monkey hormones, except his parents got their health insurance canceled over it. They were not happy with him.
Was he all right?
He's still all right. He went on I sold out of the gym long time ago. I sold my half to him. He ran that gym for about 30 years. He also ran a supplement company, but he's in the U.S. He lives in Ohio still. He only sells his supplements in Europe, though. He doesn't want to have to deal with all the FDA regulations. It's actually, there are far fewer regulations on supplements in Europe than there are here. So he won't sell his supplements here because most of them are illegal here. And he's still pretty darn healthy. And he actually reopened the gym a couple years ago. So yeah, he's 61 now, same age as I. We were actually born 7 days apart in the same hospital. And we grew up together, and our parents knew each other, and we opened the gym together.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so he's still at it, and as far as I know, he's pretty healthy, but he did some crazy stuff back then.
Yeah. Have you got photos of him in his prime?
What's that?
Have you got photos of him, you know, when he was at his prime?
I could find stuff really easy. I'll tell you what you can go look for. All throughout the 80s, and into the early 90s, the health food store GNC,
I know it, yeah.
They had a bodybuilding line of supplements, and all through the 80s and 90s, the picture that was on that line was my partner.
Cool.
Yeah, he was the spokesperson for the GNC bodybuilding. He also put together one of the most popular bodybuilding events in the country. It's in Columbus, Ohio. It's called the Arnold Classic, and it was put on with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, that was when he was at his prime for that, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a great movie back then that we used to watch a lot called Pumping Iron. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was in it when he was a young bodybuilder, and Lou Ferrigno. Anybody remember him?
No,
the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, Lou
he was in a restaurant I was at a couple months ago.
Was he really?
He was doing like their version of a Comic-Con. And it was, yeah. And so I just missed him, but he was there and he was all bitching about his food. And he did get swordfish steak, they told me. Because I asked, I wanted to know. He was eating good, but yeah, I remember Lou.
Yeah, Lou Ferrigno was the original Incredible Hulk on TV the first time that show came out, but he competed head-to-head against Arnold for a lot of years.
Yeah, and he lost, didn't he?
He usually lost. Yeah. Yeah. Arnold was a freak of nature. I mean, even to this day, now you see people build much, much bigger and more defined, but when you looked at Arnold's physique back then, it was very, very hard to beat him.
Yeah, I've heard him talk about that he was always into the muscle shock, doing something different. But he also did have 4 heart surgeries.
Yeah,
so he was some flack forming stuff he was eating.
Most of the stuff competitive athletes do, it's just not really healthy. Most of it's way too extreme to be healthy.
Kevin, can you hear me?
Yes.
I tried to raise my hand, but I'm driving, so I just turned the microphone on.
That's fine.
This is John.
Yeah.
You were talking about how unhealthy it is, like cutting weight. Rogan likes to talk about in his organization how insane it is, how much these guys will dehydrate themselves to make weight and then immediately go and rehydrate. And I mean, some of these guys, like, 6'4", 6'5", and they're down to like 185 pounds or less. And it's just,
it was insane. When I wrestled, I can remember the last 24 hours, I had a rubber one-piece suit that had elastic at the wrists, elastic at the neck, and elastic at the ankles, and it was rubber. And you would run in that to sweat. And does anybody remember Gator gum?
sounds familiar.
So Gatorade came out with a gum, and remember, Gatorade was to quench your thirst. Gator gum was supposed to do it as well. When you started chewing it, your mouth would water so much. It had this really tart citric acid in it. It would just make your mouth water like crazy. So we would run in a rubber suit and chew Gator gum and spit to lose weight. Spitting to lose weight. That's how much water that's how much we would try to dehydrate ourselves. And then you would try to rehydrate immediately after weigh-ins. When I was a high school coach, they had come up with some rules that helped curb this a lot. So at the beginning of the season, we would have to, and it took quite a while to do all this. We would have to bring every wrestler in. We would have to check their hydration status and make sure they were fully hydrated. And then we would measure their body fat, and we would calculate the lowest weight they were allowed to go to. And we would not include any kind of dehydration. So we would say one step better would have been to do the hydration testing at every weigh-in, but it's too expensive and too time consuming. But we would do it in the beginning, and we would tell them, based on your current weight, your current body fat levels, you cannot wrestle at anything below this weight. Even if you can lose it and weigh in, we're not going to let you wrestle. That was one good improvement, but you still had people who would get their body fat as low as they could get it before that first measurement of the year. Then they'd end up putting on more body fat, and they would still dehydrate themselves to get to their weight to wrestle. So it wasn't foolproof, but it made some improvements, because the whole dehydrating thing was pretty dangerous. But we did it a lot.
We're just interested in we want pictures of the rubber suit, or it didn't happen.
Come on now, you got to remember, this was like 1952 or something. We didn't have cameras everywhere back then. I might be exaggerating.
What's up, Kevin?
Hey, Taylor. Good to hear from you.
Hey, man, I see I seen your post yesterday, and I had to comment about the diet stuff.
Yeah. Thank you for that. But nobody will come in here and debate me on any of those topics. They'll argue with me all day long on my post. They won't come in here and debate me.
So here's where I'm confused at. Okay. Whether you like these people or not, all right, look at Shark Tank. Okay, you got 4 sharks on there that are multi-hundred millionaires. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe, yeah, right.
And it's like, nobody tells them that they suck at business because they've got $100 million in the bank.
Pretty hard to argue.
I mean, I met you at Matt's for the first time. I've talked to you several through the years, but I met you at Matt's, and you're like in tip-top shape. You know, I mean, you look. I mean, in a constructive way, you look great for your age. You're fit. You know, you're strong, and I could see if you were, 300 pounds trying to preach a diet, but dude, you're in tip-top shape talking about diets. And I mean, it's like arguing with a shark on Shark Tank about business,
I love Shark Tank, by the way. I've learned a lot.
Does that make sense? Is that a fair comparison?
It does. But we have to be a little careful with that comparison, because I can go find some really, really fit athletes. In fact, a couple of the people I'm arguing with are more fit than I am. I'm pretty fit for my age. They're significantly younger. They're into certain sports where they train a lot. So I could say some of the people I'm arguing with are more fit than I am. So yeah, it's the first criteria. I don't want to take health advice from somebody who's overweight with pasty skin and red blotches, and they're coughing while they're talking to me. That's an absolute no-go. So the first criteria is, if you're going to give me health advice, you better at least look healthy. But there's lots of healthy looking people that I'm not going to take any advice from. I can also say this.
Fitness with health.
Everything.
But I would also look.
Everything.
I would also look at what kind of diet somebody's wanting to do. Are you healthy from training for a sport, or are you just healthy living? I mean, aren't there different formulas for different scenarios here?
There is. And here's the other thing. Age is a factor. At 25 and 30, it's a whole lot easier to be fit. We see people over and over and over who are very fit in their 20s and 30s. By the time they get to their 40s and 50s, they're no longer fit at all. They've got all kinds of health issues. And I will say this, the people that I'm arguing with, I used to say the exact same things they said. I understand why they think the way they do. They have not been exposed to the other side, and they seem to be fighting against it all the time. They're so dug into their position. I used to hold the same positions. I used to tell people weight loss is all about calories in, calories out. That is completely wrong. I said it for years, and I apologize for saying it now. I'm sorry I told people that. It was wrong. And
I want to say this real quick. I'm going to shut up. It says we debate anything.
Yeah.
So I just want to say ketchup belongs on pizza and macaroni and cheese, and I rest my case.
With pineapples. Yeah.
Oh, I second that.
See, it is an echo chamber in here. I was going to say the same thing. Of course you put ketchup on eggs. Who wouldn't?
And raw hot dogs on blueberry.
Ketchup belongs on nothing.
Oh, come on.
You shut your mouth.
You're going to be banned from this space.
You just say that.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that over ketchup.
You know something
Listen,
else?
here at Pastime for a Change, we put ketchup on everything.
Taylor, I think.
Oh, hell no.
You finally
Probably
found.
put ketchup on a ribeye too, don't you?
Oh, here we go. Taylor, I think you finally found the topic we're going to argue about. Here's
Yes,
one
sir.
of those posts that makes
Ketchup
me
belongs
crazy.
on steak too.
When people start
Ketchup
saying,
belongs in barbecue sauce. That's it.
Here's how I feel about this.
I'm going to leave. Everybody's talking, okay?
People should put whatever the hell they want to put on their steak or their eggs. And if you enjoy it, eat it. It makes me crazy when I see people say, oh, you can't put A1 on that steak. Don't you know how to cook? I know how to cook. I happen to like steak sauce. If I want to put steak sauce on my steak, I don't care how good the damn steak is. I'm going to put steak sauce on it or ketchup.
You don't care who you sleep with or what you eat with.
That's right.
I agree with that statement also.
Hey, but before we talk about the 20 and 30-year-olds and fitness, there's a distinction to be made, right, between being fit and being healthy.
Yes.
You got that guy that had diabetes, that triathlete guy who was, he could run.
Sami Inkinen.
Yeah, what you said.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had Sami on my show twice.
Insomnia? Sorry, I can't.
Sami. S-A-M-I. Sami.
All right, I'm just having fun with it. I wasn't expecting that name. I forgot him. You said he founded a company. It's something healthy. He founded his own company. Are we talking about the same guy?
Yes.
Yeah,
Verta Health.
Oh, Verta. That's what I remember. Okay.
Yeah. Now, Sami himself is a pretty impressive guy. He was trained as a nuclear physicist in Sweden. He started the real estate company Trulia and then sold that for a whole bunch of money. He was a world champion triathlete, multiple time world champion triathlete. And he ate what he considered a very clean, mostly vegetarian diet with some lean protein. And if you're a world champion triathlete, it means you train a lot. And he ended up being pre-diabetic in his 30s. And
loading.
It was from all the carb loading of all that training. But what it proved to us, you absolutely can't out-train a bad diet. I got into an argument the other day with somebody who's young and fit. And his whole point was, he told me, he obviously doesn't know my history. He said, you will never get truck drivers to stop eating junk food. So stop trying. They just need to go train more and I'll show them how. Then later on, maybe they'll get more interested in their nutrition. I want to debate that topic because it is completely backwards. If you want the best results, you do the exact opposite. You convince people that nutrition is 90 to 95% of their health. The training, and it's almost 100% of weight loss. The training is good for us. Activity is all good for us. It has nothing to do with weight loss. And I think it's completely backwards to take a 400-pound truck driver and tell them not to worry about what they're stuffing in their pie hole. Just go run more.
Yeah, because a 400-pound truck driver by the name of John would have never done it.
Nobody will. Nobody's going out running when it hurts just to get out of the chair.
Yeah, well, that's when I first, someone was complimenting you a second ago. I guess I'll have my turn at it. When I first saw Kevin without a shirt, he was jumping backwards into a pile of snow. I thought, okay, crazy, but he looked fit and he's over 50 years old. And that caught my attention. If you have a normal torso and you're over the age of 50, you've at least got my attention. It's like, all right, I want to know what he's doing. And in this case, it was healthy. It was, paleo and carnivore.
And I could show up at some point looking the same way by starving myself and burning more calories than I consume. I could do that. The difference is I can't and don't want to sustain it because you're hungry all the time. That's the only way you achieve weight loss on calorie balance is to starve yourself. And it is a miserable way to live. And most people can't do it for very long. So they do it and they lose some weight and they feel better and then they fall off the wagon and then they gain the weight back and then they go to do it again and it's harder the next time. And many people go through their whole life on that yo-yo. And the biggest difference between what I teach now and what I live now is I am never, ever hungry. You don't have to be hungry to lose weight. But if you're counting calories, you absolutely do have to be hungry to lose weight. It's the only way it works.
Might be them Rutherford tomato plants.
Well, see, that I got to be careful with those. Those work against me. You know,
I know.
a couple of those, and I'm ready to clean out the pantry. Got to watch that stuff.
Oh, so sorry about that. I'm trying to mute it.
Uh-oh, who's getting pulled over?
No,
I heard sirens.
That was me, but I'm not getting pulled over. It's somebody else.
All right.
Truck driver.
Yeah.
But I did get stopped for having 2 guns and a 6-pack. Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
2 guns and a 6-pack. I got a flag. Yeah. 2 guns and a keg.
Are they LA guns?
Exactly. And a keg, a half keg.
Yeah.
But I'm working on it.
There you go.
Can I? Do I have audio now? People actually hear me?
I can hear you.
I've several times tried to say something, but anywho, I got a short video on YouTube. I suggest that everybody to watch if they ever have time and think about it. It's called I Pet Goat.
Man, who the fuck is talking?
I Pet Goat?
I Pet Goat 2. The 2 is I, as in Roman numerals. It's about an 8-minute video, and it might change your perspective on something.
Why you petting goats?
No, it has nothing to do with goats. It's just what it's called. It's a mind fuck.
Why? Shut up, Cooper. Shut up, Cooper, you idiot.
I'm going to go watch. All right. I just looked at the clock. This is why I got to figure out a better way of doing spaces, because you guys suck me in here and I get stuck in here for hours. I'm going to wrap this up. Next week might be the Fight Club. It will be a book review. Maybe we can figure out some other way. We are reviewing the book next week, Peaks and Valleys by Spencer Johnson. Anybody want a final word?
Where do we find more spaces that we can just talk to people?
Start one.
I don't know how to
follow.
I know nothing
right
about
here, or American Trucker,
Kevin, I
or
just want to say it's
follow
good to see
Fred
you back in
Stair,
here.
or the Grand, or Trucker T. Those guys all have spaces, trucking spaces every day almost.
Taylor, what do you got?
Oh, it doesn't even have to be trucking. It's just, it could be truckers or just anybody.
They're all, I know. I mean, they're all truckers. So we talk about everything, but it's trucking genre per se.
Yeah.
We'll talk about everything from foreskins to trucking regulations to how good a fuel mileage you're getting today.
But you can't talk about foreskins unless you can fake a Scottish accent. Isn't that what is he? What the hell is he? Is he Scottish? He's got some kind of accent.
Me? No, English.
No, I got yours. It's the other guy that always wants to talk about foreskins.
Miles.
Yeah, that's
Australian.
I can't talk about something I don't have.
I don't know why I thought he was Scottish. He's Australian? Sounds more
Yeah.
Scottish to me.
Hey, Kev, I just want to say it's good to see you here. And I'm going to jump out. That's what I want to say. It's good to see you in here in the spaces. It's easier to communicate on the spaces than the videos.
Yeah, so I'm trying to come up with a theme where I can do this every Monday. The debate Fight Club thing doesn't seem to be working. Nobody will debate me.
Well, I'll help you figure it out.
How about somebody start a Fokker chat group or space it's just, us that can get together, chat, and Kevin doesn't have to be here or be the host or whatever.
There is a trucking space going on just about all day, every day. If you get into whatever that one chat group is, what's the name of that?
I have no clue how to use Twitter. Like I said, or X. How I got in here was accident.
That's usually how I get things done on here too, but maybe I'll get better at the spaces if we start doing them every week. All right, I'm going to wrap this one up. It's been fun. It's been real. Not sure if it's been real fun, but we will do it again next week. Come prepared, do your homework, and we'll see you back here then. Thanks, everybody.
Talking to you. See you again. 30.